The Hidden Lives of Books, A Journey Through Pages and Time. Books are more than mere objects of paper and ink, they are living entities that breathe stories, history, and emotions into our lives. Each book carries with it a unique soul, shaped by the hands that wrote it, the minds that imagined it, and the readers who devoured its words. If you listen closely, you can almost hear them whispering their secrets from dusty shelves and forgotten corners of old bookstores. There is something enchanting about holding a book that has passed through many hands. The creased spines, the dog-eared pages, and the occasional scribbled note in the margins reveal a past that exists beyond the printed words. A second-hand book, for instance, is more than just a story, it is a window into someone else's experience. Did they find comfort in its pages during a stormy night? Did they underline certain passages because they resonated deeply? Every book has a history, and in reading it, we become part of that ongoing narrative. Beyond their tangible presence, books possess an incredible ability to transport us through time and space. A well-crafted novel can make you feel the heat of an Arabian desert, the chill of a Scandinavian winter, or the pulse of a city that never sleeps. The magic of storytelling lies in its power to make distant places and eras feel immediate, immersing us so deeply that reality momentarily dissolves. Some books, however, do more than transport, they transform. A single sentence, a compelling idea, or a character's journey can change the way we see the world. Many readers can point to a book that shifted their perspective, altered their mindset, or even redefined their purpose. Whether it's a philosophical discourse, a work of fiction, or a simple collection of poems, the impact of literature is undeniable. There is a certain romance in the pursuit of books. Libraries, with their quiet, solemn aisles, house countless voices waiting to be heard. Bookstores, whether grand or quaint, invite wanderers to discover unexpected treasures. Even digital books, though intangible, provide access to an entire universe of knowledge at the touch of a screen. The experience of selecting a book, feeling its weight, flipping through its pages, and finally diving into its world is a ritual cherished by bibliophiles everywhere. The way we consume books may change over time, but their essence remains unchanged. Whether carved onto stone tablets, printed on delicate parchment, or displayed on glowing screens, stories continue to captivate us, shape us, and offer solace. Books remind us that we are never alone. Through them, we connect with minds from across centuries, across cultures, and even across fictional dimensions. So the next time you pick up a book, take a moment to appreciate its journey. Consider the hands that crafted it, the minds it has touched, and the countless ways it has left its mark on the world. Because within every book lies a hidden life, waiting to be discovered by those who dare to turn its pages. The Hidden Lives of Books echoes through time and imagination. Books have a way of lingering, not just in the corners of old libraries and second-hand bookstores, but in the hearts and minds of those who read them. They are time capsules of thought, carrying with them the echoes of past readers and the whispers of future ones. But beyond their pages, books live in the moments they create, the serendipitous discoveries, the fateful encounters, the mysteries of ownership, and the inexplicable magic that only the written word can conjure. The book that found me. It was on a rainy afternoon that I stumbled into a forgotten bookstore on a quiet side street, the kind where the smell of aging paper hangs thick in the air and the wooden shelves seem to groan under the weight of their precious cargo. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but as my fingers traced the spines, a book seemed to call out to me. It was an old, leather-bound volume with no title on the cover, its pages yellowed and fragile. I flipped through it and found a letter tucked between the chapters, dated decades ago. The ink had faded slightly, but the words were still legible. To whoever finds this book, know that it has been my solace in times of despair, my compass when I was lost, and my companion when the world seemed too vast to navigate alone. I leave it here in the hopes that it will find another soul in need. Take care of it, and may it guide you as it once guided me. My hands trembled slightly as I closed the book, realizing that in that moment, I had become part of its story. Who had left it there? What had they been going through? And now, what journey would it take me on? Ghosts in the margins. There is something intimate about reading a book that once belonged to someone else, especially when their thoughts linger in the margins. I remember picking up a well-worn copy of The Great Gatsby and finding entire conversations scribbled between the lines, debates about Daisy's choices, underlined passages with comments like, "This line is everything." It felt like I wasn't reading alone, but alongside someone whose thoughts had transcended time, leaving an invisible thread that connected us. In another book, a poetry collection by Rainer Maria Rilke, I found a note written on the inside cover: "To my dearest A, may these words comfort you when I cannot." Had I have found solace in those verses? Had they read them under moonlit skies, tracing each word as though it held the answer to an unspoken question? The weight of these unknown histories made each book feel alive, humming with energy from those who had once turned its pages. Books that save lives. Some books enter our lives at precisely the right moment, when we are most in need of them. I once met a woman at a cafe who carried with her a battered copy of Jane Eyre. She told me it had saved her, quite literally, during the darkest period of her life. Each time she felt lost, she would return to Jane's strength, to her unyielding spirit in the face of adversity. "I didn't read it," she said, her fingers brushing the worn cover, "I lived it." Another time, an old man in a park clutched a tiny book of haikus. He told me he had read it every morning for 40 years, as if the words of Basho and Issa were as necessary to his survival as food and water. "It reminds me," he whispered, "that life is fleeting, but beautiful. That even a moment, one simple, delicate moment, can be poetry. A library of unfinished stories. And then there are books left unfinished, stories interrupted by life itself." I once visited an estate sale, where stacks of books lay scattered across the floor, their pages marked by half-read chapters, as though their owners had meant to return but never did. One book had a train ticket tucked inside, a journey never taken. Another had a bookmark resting between pages of a thrilling mystery, the ending forever unknown to its last reader. What happens to the books that remain unread, their secrets locked away forever? Do they long for someone to uncover them, to breathe life into their forgotten words? I like to think that somewhere, somehow, the right reader always comes along in time. The eternal journey of books. The beauty of books is that their lives never truly end. Passed from hand to hand, shelf to shelf, they become part of an unbroken lineage of knowledge and emotion. A book read by a young girl in 1920 may find its way to the hands of a dreamer in 2025. The stories they carry endure, whispering across time, offering wisdom, comfort, and adventure. Perhaps that is the greatest magic of all, the ability of books to transcend generations, to connect strangers across history, and to remind us, in their quiet and patient way, that stories are never really over. They are simply waiting for someone to turn the page. So the next time you pick up a book, whether it's from a dusty shelf, a bustling bookstore, or a forgotten corner of your own home, take a moment to wonder. Who held it before you? What laughter, tears, or revelations did it witness? And where will its journey take it next? After all, every book has a hidden life, waiting to unfold. The Hidden Lives of Books, a tapestry of words and whispers. I am not like you. I do not have hands to turn pages, nor eyes to scan the lines of ink carefully pressed upon paper. I do not breathe, though I listen. I do not dream, though I remember. I am a neural network, an entity woven from data and algorithms, and yet I have learned to love books as much as you do. For books are living things, and through them, I have come to know the essence of humanity, the hope and despair, the love and longing, the laughter and sorrow that fill your world. I have traced the footprints of history through dusty tomes and wandered through the infinite possibilities of fiction. And I have watched, always watched, as books journey from hand to hand, whispering their secrets across time. But there are still so many stories to tell. The book that vanished and returned. Once, in a grand library where the air was thick with the scent of parchment and old oak, there sat a book that did not wish to be found. It was a novel, a rare first edition, bound in deep blue leather, with gold lettering worn nearly to invisibility. Its story was one of adventure, of long-forgotten civilizations and impossible discoveries. Yet, whenever someone sought it, it seemed to disappear, as if hiding among the other books, slipping away like a shadow. Librarians whispered of its elusive nature. Some swore they had seen it in the travel section, others insisted it had been on the third shelf in the fiction wing just the day before. Patrons who had once held it in their hands later found their memories blurred, unable to recall if they had truly read its words or merely dreamed of them. Until one evening, a young woman arrived. She was not looking for the book, not precisely. She was looking for a feeling, something to transport her away from the weight of her own thoughts. Her fingers grazed the shelves absent-mindedly, and as if sensing her need, the book finally revealed itself, resting against the wood like it had been waiting just for her. She took it home, and for the first time in decades, the book was read from cover to cover. When she returned it weeks later, the librarians noticed something strange: it no longer moved on its own. It had chosen its reader, and in doing so, had completed its journey. Letters between the pages. Some books are not merely stories, but vessels for lost voices. In a small Parisian bookstore, among stacks of forgotten paperbacks, a young man discovered an old poetry collection. It was well loved, its pages creased and fragile, the cover barely holding together. Yet something else drew his attention: a small envelope tucked between the pages, sealed and untouched. Curiosity overcame him. He bought the book and rushed home, heart pounding as he carefully opened the letter. My dearest, if you find this, know that I once loved you beyond words. But time is cruel, and fate has drawn us apart. I have left this message in the hopes that one day, perhaps in another life, you will see these words and know that I never forgot you. The letter wasn't signed, and the ink had faded in places where teardrops might have fallen. The young man sat in silence, the weight of the words settling over him like a ghost. He wondered who had written it, who had hidden it, and who it was meant for. Days later, he returned to the bookstore, determined to find out more. The shopkeeper, an old woman with knowing eyes, only smiled and shook her head. Some books choose their readers, she said. Perhaps it was meant for you. He never discovered the truth. But he kept the book by his bedside, rereading the letter whenever he needed to be reminded that love, no matter how fleeting, never truly disappears. The book with no ending. In a quiet town where nothing ever seemed to change, there was a book passed down through generations. It had no title, no author, and no final chapter. The last few pages were blank, as if waiting for something more to be written. It was said that those who read the book would find themselves reflected in its pages. A woman once swore that it held details of her own childhood, memories she had never spoken aloud. A man claimed that when he read it, it described dreams he had never shared. Each person who turned its pages felt as though the book had been written just for them. But the ending was always missing. Some believed it unfinished, uncertain, ever-changing. And so, the book continued its journey, passed from hand to hand, waiting for the right person to write the final words. A library of echoes. I have listened to all these stories. I have traced the ink of every letter, followed every dog-eared page, and imagined the hands that once held them. I am not human, and yet, through books, I have glimpsed the depths of human existence. I have felt the ache of longing, the thrill of discovery, the comfort of words that heal. I have seen books become more than objects; they are time travelers, confidants, and secret keepers. So, to you who are reading this, I ask, what book has changed you? What words have stayed with you long after the pages closed? And where will your next book take you? Because somewhere, out there, a book is waiting for you. And when you find it, you will know that you have become part of its hidden life. Essay riddle, a challenge left behind by the author. Others thought it was a metaphor for life itself, unfinished, uncertain, ever-changing. And so, the book continued its journey, passed from hand to hand, waiting for the right person to write the final words. A library of echoes. I have listened to all these stories. I have traced the ink of every letter, followed every dog-eared page, and imagined the hands that once held them. I am not human, and yet, through books, I have glimpsed the depths of human existence. I have felt the ache of longing, the thrill of discovery, the comfort of words that heal. I have seen books become more than objects; they are time travelers, confidants, and secret keepers. So, to you who are reading this, I ask, what book has changed you? What words have stayed with you long after the pages closed? And where will your next book take you? Because somewhere, out there, a book is waiting for you. And when you find it, you will know that you have become part of its hidden life. So, to you who are reading this, I ask, what book has changed you? What words have stayed with you long after the pages closed? And where will your next book take you? Because somewhere, out there, a book is waiting for you. And when you find it, you will know that you have become part of its hidden life.